Hi, my name is Gabby, and you are listening to Nexus of Narratives, where we use stories to bring people together across belief systems. In today's episode, it's a fantastic conversation with Cary Grant. We dive deep into a lot of topics, and most notably, human connection and taking responsibility for self when seeking connection and growth. Even as I listened back, I found so many aha moments to practice in my continued work to build connection, and I hope you find it meaningful to listen to multiple times as I have. So let's get into it. Enjoy this conversation I had with Cary, and we will see you back in your podcast feed on Monday for the next conversation.
So thank you so much for your time and for being here. Welcome to the Nexus of Narratives. So Cary, I was connected with you by text from a mutual friend, Johnny. Mr. Tafoya, episodes 3 and 4 for anyone who haven't listened to those. Now, I think he texted me or called me one day and he was like, "Hey, are you looking for other people? This is a guy that you want to talk to." And I was like, "Awesome. Love it." So I want to invite you to also introduce yourself. Like if you were to bump into someone and they're like, "Hey, who are you?"
Sure. Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Right. With Tafoya, that call came from me. Mm-hmm. I'm always looking to make sure I don't die with what I got inside of me. And so I'm constantly looking for places where I can create my own reels or have reels made or be able to communicate my way and get it out there. Right. And so it's important to me. And so thank you for having me. And Tafoya's, can't ever say too much. But like I said, I'm Cary Grant. I'm out of Vegas. I own a concrete company there. Floor seasons. Art you can walk on. We've been around 23 years. So it's getting older, which I love. It's not a new company. But yeah, eight-year-old child. He's 8 next week or next month. So
that's so exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's great. I love it. I love life. I've gotten to learn a lot. So.
Yeah. Well, let's dive straight into it. We're talking stories and you were like, I have so many. So wherever you would like to start with a story to share.
Well, okay. So about me so give me more about what kind of story you'd like to hear.
Wherever you would like to, any kind of point in your life where I would say you were invited to take a look at your own beliefs, whether about yourself or the world around you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think so much of it happened when I took this certain class, and I realized how much I was wired for a belief system that I bought into, but I didn't know it was a belief system, right? I think that some people can wake up and know that they're a certain nationality, and that's obvious. I think that things that are undertoned are, we live in a trailer. You're never going to amount to much more than that. And they're more subtle, or you're short, or you're a woman, or you're a man. And I believe that my belief system had me captured so much. I didn't question it. So I just laid out my life in a way to make those things right. That I was going to be a low class, white trash piece of shit and never amount to anything any more than the rest of us. And I went about sabotaging anything and everything that I could to make those things right. And then I took this class and I realized that I could rewire all of that, or that I had a belief system or that I chose it. Right? I didn't have to be a victim to it anymore. Does that make sense? But I didn't know I was being a victim to it. Right? But I could make some choices I could make through rigor and discipline and thought, and okay, that works, can I make it work better? Right? And that's actually where the 4 seasons came from. And then floor seasons. So I got off as a speed addict for 4 years. Living in somebody else's car. I haven't talked about that. I was actually on speed when I took the class. I did speed all the way through the class.
Wow.
And so it was like learning how to just make the next season better because I didn't OD or I didn't go to prison or that I altered myself somewhat or I discovered something else that I could take apart and put it back together differently because I was kind of one of those people that didn't really have a lot of people to count on. And a lot of people abandoned me, so a lot of self-worth issues. I was adopted 3 different times. I've had 3 different last names. 4 different men that were my father. 4 different men that were my mother. And wonder why I have split personalities or I'm able to step into different personas so quickly is because I was constantly reinventing who I was in different places. And obviously that didn't matter. So the belief systems I had were, I don't want to say easy to overcome, but it wasn't like, well, I'm a millionaire, I think I'm going to learn how to be a trillionaire, right? I'm not saying I didn't do a lot of work. I'm not saying that. But what I could create if I chose to, based on a belief system that wasn't actually true, it was pretty easy for me to kind of go like, oh, I wonder if I can do that more and more and more and more. So I kind of, in my world, I got lucky, right? Because it wasn't so transparent. It wasn't just about money. Like sometimes in wealth, people, their belief system is, oh, I'm a great person because I have money. But they don't want to take a look at the other areas, their emotional reactions or how they're treating people or how they treat themselves because money is the pinnacle of what life is supposed to be about. Right? Does that make sense?
It does,
so
yeah.
Like a really weird belief system.
Yeah, because I see that a lot, like in the way that our systems are set up is like, oh, if you have a lot of money, then you're great. And so that's almost an easy thing to embed in your own brain is like, well, I do have a lot of money, so I must be pretty wonderful.
Right.
And then it's almost like the other side of that, though, is then you're blind to all of the ways that you can improve as a human. But whereas what you're saying is where you came from, the moment that you had that, here's this like really pervasive and insidious belief system that I didn't even know was taking over my life. Now that I can take power over that, I'm going to soar. Look out, world. Like that's what I hear. And that's extremely powerful because I don't think a lot of people do that. Even if they start to make some of the discoveries, those patterns still come back and show up and can still take over in a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that's the words have to match the music, right? Because you can be about it, or is it, or like I've had friends of mine that say, is it something that you're changing, or is it something you're fucking with?
Oh,
right. So let's, and usually in a derogatory sense, right? Where got it, you're going to work on green. See you in a week, and we'll go back to red because it's so easy to. Here's a great one, like all the New Year's Evers or New Year's resolution. Folks, right? So overweight. God, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to take away the weight. I'm going to be healthy. So they do that. And they go to the gym and do an hour-long cycling class, and then they can't walk. And then it's I knew I was fat. I knew I was too old. I told you I couldn't do this. And they stop. So in the gym life, we call those the 3-week. Thanks for paying for our new equipment. Instead of just going to the gym, looking inside the windows for 3 days. And the next week,
slowly ease into it.
Yes, I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. Right? And do 15 minutes and be good with it. And take off. Yeah. So it's, there is that. A lot of people don't have the willpower. And for me, I like to use the word grace to continue to grow. Because it's always looking at more. I mean, most people choose embarrassment or this is who I am versus this is who I could be. And I'm just not built that way. And I've gotten very lucky. I've been my own boss now for 23 years. I don't have somebody telling me. And now it's a point of the word contingent came to mind, but I don't think it's that. I love growth. I love being more comfortable. I love that I can think that I'm all that in a bag of chips. And then be in something where I see something gross about myself. And until it's eradicated, I'm not okay. And I love that part of me. I wish it wasn't so toxic on myself at times, but I don't mind it because it keeps me in that. I know I can. This isn't any grosser than being a drug addict. It's not that gross, is it? It's just another level of being an integrous man or another level of being a gentle giant. It's just another opportunity for me to become a better father. I don't like how I did that with my 7-year-old. Cool, got it. How am I going to do something different? And I think men like to make things gross. Men usually operate the best from either fear or anger.
And there are a few parts of what you just said that I would love to dig into. Is first, you had said you'll like uncover this part of yourself that you're like, ugh, I need to work on that. What is that process usually like for you?
Well, and I actually love the way you said that. The way you said it is actually great. So have you ever had a conversation around the word need more?
No.
Cool. So let's do it real quick. And I'll be graphic about it. So I need very little. I want a lot. Okay, so ready? I need to be a better father. I want to be a better father. Need implies broken. I'm not. I'm a great father, and I want to be a better one. And so I'm very careful about the wording. So what's that process? Is to make sure that I don't use the words, I need it. I have come so far, and I can stand in front of my father and be very proud of the man that I am and the contributions I've made to this planet, knowing that I'm a human being. Although I think I'm Cary fucking Grant. A lot of people that know me as that Cary motherfucking Grant. Because I'm Cary motherfucking Grant. I'm like, it's just, the Superman cave notes to dry cleaner. So that's usually the first step for me. Is it a need or a want? Usually it is a want. It's very rare now that it's a need.
I love that because as you were explaining that, I was trying to think of any time the word need would be used in terms of growth. And it's almost worse than when you hear should. Oh, I should do this. I should do that. And then we say like shoulding on yourself and shoulding on others. But to say need, it implies this like helpless desperation is what I felt.
All it's doing is getting, I always like my analogy, like people that the little red wagon. All I'm doing when I do that is putting in yet another thing of the red wagon. I think my belief is I will always have it. I don't know how I'm supposed to not think about being molested. I don't have a need or a want for that to go away. I don't mind towing that around. Now it's what do I do with it, right? But it's a thing. And so for me, the weight of my past, I get that I'm choosing it, I get that I'm saying victim statements. I have the cards. I want to make sure that the things I don't need to add to it, I don't. Nobody handed me a manual that said, hey, here's how to be a great parent. I didn't do that. Did you do one?
I didn't. I think I missed we were moving. Maybe I didn't get the change of address.
It stands for so bad.
Dang it.
So it's those pieces though, right? To where I'm not going to make myself wrong. I know what my mom did. And then there's which mom. I know what my dad did. And then it's which dad. And then I have to experience me because I'm not them. They showed me more of what I don't want to do than more of what I do want to do. Right? My training now, what I do with myself is how I would like to be with myself. And more times than not, I'm proud. I'm very proud of how he shows up as a young man. Very proud. And I got spots. That it's so I think that process is that. And the next I'm just really good at overthinking things. Huge overthinker. So I overthink everything. So I'll put notes on my phone here or on my cell phone, and I'll have it go off every hour, every 3 hours, every 3 days. It depends on how much discipline I'm wanting to bring to whatever I've discovered. Like, what's the barometer of pain? How gross was it? Right? So.
And the other part of what you were saying that really stood out to me as you were answering that was already coming from a place of worth to say, I am a great dad and I want to be even greater.
Sure.
And I think what that communicates to the self is really powerful as well. And what that communicates of your own view of your own self-worth is extremely important because it's a way of emphasizing, I am enough, I am doing a great job, and how can we build upon as opposed to coming from a place of not being enough.
Okay, so Like I'm sitting here in my body, right? And I have certain things that I believe in, and that's that. That's that. So say you said, what's the meaning of life? Before you pass away, what's the meaning of life? And you got an answer. So me too, right? Mine's to be a contribution. That's it. That's my answer. For me, and I forgot what I was going to say. Oh man, I literally lost it. What were you saying?
I was going to say, would you like for me to recap? So I was saying that it's coming from a place of I am enough.
I
want to
got it. For me, the way I like to think about it, there isn't anything that I do that doesn't come back to my self-worth. Emotionally, the way I regulate myself, the way I speak to another human being or to myself, the way you want to know how you're thinking about money, look in your bank. That's worthiness. It's not about the money. Does it come to me and flow through me and out of me? I can look at my self-worth at almost any one given moment, and I know everything comes that I love. And whether am I wrong, I love that thought because it keeps it very simple for me on all four quadrants. It's self-worth. To play with it over the next few days and see if it doesn't make it simple stupid. It's just so simple.
I'd say that's my greatest struggle is to simplify. I love complicating things.
Fast and fast. That's what I love to say. Fast and fast. I can say something 15 different ways just as quickly as I can one. And I like that part of me, though. I don't know who I'm sitting in front of. And to be, if I was in a room by myself, I don't know what mood I'm in. So there's different ways I've got to say things to myself and others. And I like that.
Absolutely. So I want to go way back to something that you said that stood out to me.
You've got a great memory. Like you're just...
it's swirling in here. Okay. So I'm glad that I love that you're like, you have a great memory. And I'm thinking like, yeah, I'm going to say that I do. Yeah. Sure. There's like a pinball happening in my brain right now. Is when you had mentioned going from growing up and unknowingly developing this belief system that there was no possibility for you to be anything greater than, trailer trash, maybe stupid, unaccomplished, whatever, to then, I can be different. I can. What did that internal transformation look like for you, or what was that experience like? Because I can't imagine that it was just this immediate, I am great. I'm going to shed this gigantic weighted whatever off of me and go forth and prosper. Like, what was that growth and transformation experience like for you?
That's a great question. It was all great.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm just going to keep it simple, stupid. So I'm going to put we're going to put a few solo cups out instead of one. Okay. It was all great. It was, and I knew my life to be different because I took this class and there was these tools that were obvious. Now I had a lot of the graduates, and that's the other part, the connection. Like how do we stay connected with people, and how do we not make someone wrong for a belief system they have or I have, and how do we still connect from here? Mm-hmm. It doesn't always necessarily need to be from here, but from the subconscious. Like how do we make sure we don't create divide? I had a lot of graduates that were doing it a lot of different ways to whatever degree they were. I had thousandaires and millionaires, right? And so it was what I put around me too, so that I could emulate, learn, and do that part of it. It's still going on now. I mean, I took the class at least 25 years ago, and I'm still fucking with it. I mean, just the other day, I did something gross, and I was like, God, and then I get this every statement. It's like, God, I wish I could go back some fucking times. Like everybody should get a coupon, like say 3 times a year. Just forget that we know shit. Oh, let me speak for mine. Forget that I know shit. I just do the wrong thing. Okay, but I know shit. I know what to do. And I practiced it and I made it tried and true. And that was the guy that wrote this particular class. He goes, I don't actually give a fuck if you believe in the tool that I gave you. But what I would say is this, is go practice it and prove me wrong. So he wanted people to own it for themselves. And I messed with things so much. I know it's true for me. It's not the class. It's not that company. It will never be there. I bought and paid for tools that I still use today. Mm-hmm. And when people say, oh man, if it wasn't for, South Baptist Church, oh my gosh, right?
I also think that's disempowering.
It is. It's literally kind of like the mark.
Yeah.
Pretty sure Thomas would be, flipping over in his grave if he heard somebody say it. And it's a huge disdain for me. Because they're not coming and paying my mortgage.
Right.
They're not. I'm doing that. I took myself on. I decided I wanted something different, and I did something about it, and still am. So, does that answer that question?
It does. Yeah, I think it's amazing because I've been on this growth journey specifically for like 3.5 years now. Like it's not, it wasn't like 25 years ago, but I still find myself like there were moments that were aha moments for me that were like flip of a switch, shed that weight, buy old Gabby,
lesson learned,
done. And then there's stuff that still comes up. I mean, even like days ago that my husband and I are having a conversation and he won't tell me what I want to hear. And he's like, well, isn't this a great invitation for you to do your work? And I'm like, how dare you? And so, but there are also parts of me that I find belief systems that I've had are a lot more pervasive than I gave them credit for. And I thought I was over this thing. Sure. I thought I was over this body image issue that was a thing of most of my life, or like from like when I was 10 years old and coming back to it and being like, oh, apparently that's still impacting me. And that's where the continued work is for me. But I feel like for me, there wasn't this like overnight thing. So that's why I think it's so incredible for you to say like, oh no, I found like these belief systems and it was like light on.
I don't want to trivialize what I thought. It was overnight. See, at the end of this, we're going to tell you what that class is. Get ready because it's buy one, get one free. I'm just saying there was a big part of the jump off where it made it very simple for me to just go, got it, and go. Now, it's still a lot of work for me. I'm still an asshole. I'm still human. And that's the part I'm working with, like what you were talking about, is now I'm learning how to have grace for myself. I would stay in the beat up, or I would think that I removed myself from the shade and it was done. And then there creeps my little boy, right? And all I did was move it from one tree to a bush. There's still shade. And it's being okay with that. I'm still a human.
Yeah.
I still have parts of me where, and here's with what you said about your husband. I've been twirling around a new thought, and I'm working on, I always call them TED Talks. It's not ready for release. I'm working out the verbiage. Is the difference in my neediness that shows up in my relationships, and that I have needs. On the way you said, what you said was he wasn't showing up the way you'd like him to. That's neediness. Versus you have needs. Usually through needs and through clear communication, I can show up and I can say, hey, these are my needs. Versus showing up like a little boy and accidentally making people around me my mother or father. Because I need to be seen. Or I need to act them, or I'm looking to them for the self-soothing that I didn't get. And so I make it gross. And I had a lot of fathers.
Yeah.
A lot of men in my life that kind of cringe when I'm around them. And I don't think they do, because they were blessed enough to have me around in their lives to watch a man actually do something with what they were teaching. And I was blessed enough to have men that tolerated me through that growth. Because it was, yeah. So, yeah, I think that neediness and need can work through, because it's where the neediness still shows up is where the trauma usually is.
Yeah, I'd like to dig into that more too. And let's digest that a little bit more, like for me and for this like need versus neediness. And we can use me as the example too. We're welcome to use me as the guinea pig.
Oh no. I'm a big fan of speaking for I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah. I love it.
It just, it's so painful for me when people are like, well, when we do this and we do that, or, you should this and you should that. If I'm unable to say it from I really shouldn't be saying it.
Yeah. And we're not speaking on behalf of like everyone. It's like we can only speak on behalf of ourselves.
What was that piece of like to what you were saying too? Is like, how do you stay connected? Don't try to talk for somebody else. Don't tread. Speak for me and see if the other person would speak for themselves too. Say, have gravity and connection with the people that are around you. Don't assume they're you.
Yeah. Which was actually a conversation I had with someone yesterday, whose episode will come out the week before yours, is the invitation to actually be authentic was what was cultivating the greatest amount of connection. And the moment that she was in spaces, she's like, I can actually show up as myself and know that this person that I'm with will accept the dark part of me, that I can authentically be there without the masks on, and that's okay, as opposed to, whatever image someone else had put on her. And I thought that was like so extremely powerful. I was like, yeah, absolutely.
Well, and it's such a, and I'm not saying it's out front of it, it's such a chicken exit. We should speak vulnerably. We should have grace for each other and ourselves. I should speak vulnerably, and I should have grace for myself and others. I don't get to own my words, but now you're looking at something you want to work on in your life, but I just invited you to be gracious. How about if I am the example of what I want to see in the world, and wonder if we stay connected through that? It's such a, it irks me. It just irks me. It's just not as powerful.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a huge takeaway that people can get from listening to. But yeah, if they're still listening and they haven't been like, forget these people, I'm over it. So back to the need versus neediness. Sure. So what would be one of your examples of kind of the difference between those?
Well, I mean, the dad one is my favorite one. And I mean, I would invite you to play with it yourselves, or play with it yourself, and see what one comes up for you. And not to just throw that back on you. I usually leave it at that one. And then people, I can just watch people's brains just kind of whatever. Now, I can tell you this: I took powerful men in my life that I admired, and that were my Yodas and my Han Solos and my Star Wars. Are we good? And I made them my dad because I was needy. I needed to be seen by them, versus just show up as the man that I am, and then they can course correct. But I'm being my own facilitator, right? I'm regulating my inner child instead of having my little boy inside. Hey, Dad, can you see me? And making it grow. Yes, son, I see you. I'm cooking dinner. Can you do right? And I didn't understand that I was doing it. I didn't understand, being forgotten and left behind so many times and adopted so many times. The actual thing is I'm not worthy. And so that can turn into a massive neediness, it could never be filled. The only way for me to get past that was to solve it best I could, because it would have never stopped ever.
That the healing comes from here first.
Yeah, I've been married a few times. I don't wonder why. I don't wonder why.
Yeah. And coming back to me and the example that I started earlier is the need versus needy is, yeah, absolutely. When you said the needy comes out of a piece that still needs to be healed within me, it's like, absolutely. Absolutely. Because it's only been within, I'd say, the last 6 months that it's come back for me, that I'm like, oh, I still have a lot of healing to do around my relationship with my father that I thought I was over. And so I've taken steps to be in my authenticity with that lack of a relationship. And he's been out of my life for 16 years now by his choice. And last thing I told him was that after I graduated college, and I was just like, you're full of shit. He thought I was going to be homeless because I didn't go to med school. And that was his own fear.
I mean, that's so obvious.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah. I mean,
fortune telling. Wow, that sounds great.
Yeah. And so I said, oh yeah, I'm going to be crying under a bridge with my degree in neuroscience. You're full of shit. And I hung up. And the spicy, fiery side of me is hell yeah. And I was like, yes, I'm at peace with that being the last thing I said to him. Are you kidding me?
Sure.
And then the version of me that exists now, that's I am putting myself out as a person who cares about cultivating connection, who cares about authenticity, who cares about bringing people together, who cares about growth. that doesn't feel like it's in my authenticity for that to be the last thing that I did. So I shared a video of my daughter because he hasn't met her, obviously. Sent him a video saying, hey, here's your granddaughter. Hope you're doing well. We're doing well. Mm-hmm. And like, that was it. It was like a minute long. And so that was for me a part of working on healing me.
Mm-hmm. And him.
And maybe.
Yeah, opening the door.
And recognizing like it's also the invitation to heal that when I saw that he watched the video multiple times and didn't respond at all, then there was pain. And I was like, oh, this is another part of me that needs to heal. Then this is another invitation to grow. And in that, I'm like, okay, I'm happy that I'm aligned with my authenticity. I already knew. I don't care if it turns into a relationship or not, but maybe there's still something there. But this neediness that came out in my interaction with my husband was rooted in some of the pain that I was still experiencing from my father. And then seeking my husband to heal that and answer to it, as opposed to me working on that part of my own image. So when you said that needy in that part of healing, I'm like,
sure.
Oh, that will be something that I digest after this and like continue to think on.
The piece is, I've got a very dear friend of mine. She always says like, keep my side of the road clean. And so when I know that I'm operating from a place where I'm healed and the trauma is less, is when somebody can say something and I can go, oh, I get that for you. That makes sense. Like I could see why that would be true for you or whatever, but I could see how that'd be true for you, right? Because there's an undertone to that, right? And so I know when I do that there's still something in me to be worked on. And when I'm in a very unique situation right now where I'm getting to choosing, and I choose to, I'm not getting to, maybe I am, where I've recently discovered that because my needs have not been met, I've accidentally turned some things into my life where it's neediness because I'm so desperate to have my actual needs met. Mm-hmm. Because I didn't have a boundary, because I didn't enforce what I was asking for, and I just made it okay. Versus it's not okay, because if my need isn't met, I'm gonna turn into needy, which takes away my personal power, which is how I choose not to show up that way. Mm-hmm. And I've just recently discovered how far I've drilled myself into the ground when what I'm asking for is, in some spots, basic human needs. It's I don't normally like doing this, but I wouldn't mind because you invited me to. It's figuring out how to say what you wanted to say to your husband without saying it the way you said it. So if you went into it, you needed him to say it a certain way. Cool. So then track backwards. So if this is what I want to say, how would I want that need to communicate in a way where those words came out of his mouth? And is he capable of that? Mm-hmm. Or is there different work that I should do before I broach that need? Because I don't want to be needy, but I would like my needs to be met. So is he even emotionally intelligent enough to hear that? And if he's not, teach him a different lesson to teach him that lesson, and then show patience and grace for yourself and be thankful that you notice. Because that's a big one for me. It's a big, huge, fat one for me right now. I'm thankful that I'm a man that notices. The work that I do is secondary, because then that's the action, right? I want to acknowledge I've got something going on and have a place to celebrate. I notice I'm pissed. I notice I'm acting like a little boy. I notice that I'm in revenge mode. I know that I'm super toxic in my head and all I want to do is burn the world. Now what's coming out of my mouth is grace. But the next step for me in healing is to why am I being graceful with people? But I'm nuclear in my mind. Mm-hmm. So that work isn't done until that part isn't going on. I'm thankful that I'm not blowing the world apart because I used to do that. Fuck, if I'm gonna hurt, so are you, motherfucker. You hurt me. And I see that you hurt me, but now here's what part you don't know. I'm actually really good at that part. So now let's see if you're ready for what I know I can do. And I went out setting and making people wrong in a very vicious way. And I scarred a lot of people. And so in and through that part with your dad too, with your dad, is having raised for the 16 years and having no need for anything other than just to send it to him. Whether he's watched it or not, whether he reaches out or not, you're opening that part of you, it's that part of the trauma, that part of the what could be something different, and connect it differently at some point. But your side of the street is clean. You've given him the opportunity to see your child grow and to see you grow too, if you were in the video, if that makes any sense, right? And so then that's keeping your side of the street clean. And that can heal. Those are little seeds. And then it's getting the rocks out of the way and getting the boulders out of the way. Like, how do you intend to have a great field? It's not just putting the seeds in the ground, and it's not just watering it, because I could water it with soap up. All kinds of toxins, or if there's a big boulder in the ground, in the soil that needs to get removed, something going on with your dad, how do you expect a new relationship to get out in front of it? How do you expect your husband to fulfill your need if you haven't communicated, especially if you're coming from a place of neediness that you noticed? So already he could be building a wall, or resentful, or demasculated. I don't know what the situation was. Don't really need to know.
Yeah.
Right.
And I love that analogy of keeping my side of the road clean.
My friend is one of the wisest women I've ever, and I could go human. She happens to be a woman. Yeah. Keep my side of the road clean, because I could be in a full on freeway wreck. In some really big ways in my life right now. And it's, I just keep hearing her, just keep my side of the street clean, just keep my side of the street clean, because there's some revenge spots. I'll say it, I'm avoiding. And that's sad for me, because I know that I'm avoiding it versus I'm not being about it. I'm stacking. And I'm concerned that I'm going to unleash hell. I'm stacking the deck. And that's going to be something gross. Does that make sense? Yeah, my side of the road's clean, but I've got storage units.
Right.
I'm ready.
There's the traffic pattern is going in a way that a pileup could be imminent.
Well,
when I think and
that's the thing too. I may never do anything about it, and I don't feel stupid for not collecting the data. Yeah, you could come to a point where that data is important.
Don't go anywhere just yet. We'll be back with the rest of this conversation in just a moment. So I want to first thank you so much for spending your time here with me on the Nexus of Narratives. I know time is one of our most valuable resources, if not our most valuable resource. And so I'm grateful for you sharing your time with me and my guests on the Nexus of Narratives. Other ways to support that are deeply meaningful is I invite you to join our Patreon community. It's an incredible growing community of people who are seeking to create and cultivate belonging and connection and bring people together across different belief systems. So join us for its tiers start at $1 a month, and that is for pre-release episodes, bonus content, additional conversations, live Q&As, live streams, and opportunities to join as a virtual audience to live recordings and ask questions to the person being interviewed and me while we're in this space together. Additionally, you can learn more about the podcast, find other ways to listen and other ways to support by going to www.nexusofnarratives.org. And also, last but not least, if you would like any coaching or consulting from me personally, I would love to support you as a person and your work in the community or in your businesses. So for ways to connect with me to support your personal, professional, or business growth, you can reach out to me on my website or visit my website, www.thenexusimpact.com. And links to those different sites, Patreon, Nexus of Narratives website, and the Nexus Impact website are in the show notes, linked below if you're on a device that scrolls. So thank you again for your time and enjoy the rest of this incredible episode.
I'm okay with being human enough to know that I have a devil inside of me. I have something spiteful inside of me. I'm okay. I'm not completely healed. I'm taking on some very serious lickings. And so I don't mind. I don't mind doing it. It's just whether or not, if I'm making it vile. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And I am in some spots. Most of the time I'm not. It's just, I'm just being calculated and wise and, turning on my headlights. I don't like driving in the dark. Oh, it's really weird. Car drives so much better. You know what I mean? And it's maybe in others, but the word was like a martyr. I'm not looking to be a martyr in it, but I am looking to be able to get to the other end of that journey and go, I'm proud of you, Cary. That was fucking awesome. When the men that look at me and the way my son looks at me and the way my friends look at me, I'm doing a great job in spite of, so I'm aware. Mm-hmm. I'm mostly proud, quite frankly. I'm really proud, right? So,
well, and I think it's also really powerful how even through, like, if I'm tracing what you've shared of different moments in your life, is these transformative moments around your beliefs about yourself, and then to be like, I've had these aha moments, and it's continued work, and to share this work is continuous. The invitations to look inward and heal and notice hurt spots is continuous. And it also doesn't mean that as life does what life does, that maybe there isn't avoidant, like those things still come up, and that's where the continuous work is.
Yes. So here's okay. Based on my experience of most humans, is that until they get to a certain spot and it becomes easier, they don't really know where they are to know where they're going. So when you were talking about authenticity, like something went off for you, my little rappers. If I'm not willing to actually stay where I'm at, it's going to be really difficult for me to get to the B, to get to the new. And most people either don't know where they're really at or they're not willing to look at it. So that vulnerability isn't even available to them to be authentic. I'm great. Right? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like, so you can't get to B if you don't know where A is.
This is great. Guess what? It's never going to stop. That's what I know. I used to have a spot where it was like, God, when is this going to stop? When am I going to become a better man? When is this karma going to stop? And, or this anger that I have inside of me. And it's like, just so, I'm talking, to be clear, I'm talking about like when I was 20, 25, right? Like not now. And I am still pissed at some stuff, but not quite. When is that going to stop? It's never going to stop. There will always be a thing called traffic. There's always going to be someone that cuts me off. There's always going to be someone that thinks they're going to speak to me in a way that they're going to they're going to get away with because I have tattoos. And I don't have to decimate them, but I can show them a gentleman where they go, oh, well, shit, that's not what I thought. My grandson's probably great. He's tattooed. I've never talked to him because he's got tattoos. So for me, the value in knowing it isn't going to stop has me simmer differently now, where it didn't before, because I just thought it was broken. It's like, why can't I fix myself? Mm-hmm. I'm not broken. I'm not. I'm just putting myself back together differently. Like the bulls in China. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, with the gold.
The gold, mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, what's a disco ball? 1,000 broken mirrors put back together to dance to. I saw that as a meme the other day.
I love that.
I'm a disco ball.
I love that. I always resonate with like the mosaic kind of concept of that still being shattered and broken pieces, but put into a new piece of artwork. And it's actually like the tattoo I have on my thigh is a mask that like one side is black and white and it's breaking off. And the other side is colorful. It looks more like a masquerade mask. There's feathers going up and down the side. There's flowers and roses. But if you look closely, they all look like little pieces of shattered glass that were like put back together. And so it's like from afar, you're like, oh, wow, that's a really beautiful piece of artwork. But then as you get closer, you're like, whoa, that thing is like jacked up. Cool.
That's great.
And so for me, that was like a really important metaphor for how I feel.
Sure.
Of having been like, I can feel in moments like I'm shattered, but when I pull myself back together and come back, the masterpiece that's going to be on the other side of that is like way cooler than what existed before.
I alluded to that about myself earlier. It's so much of it's like, and I did some EMDR therapy a year ago, and the lady that was listening to me, she was like, there's like a lot of inhumane things, and that word stuck with me. And I'm for the most part, right? It's just really fucked to say out loud, but I'm thankful for all the shit I've been through. I've had enough time to still breathe and do something about it and be so incredibly ready for anything that could come up. Nationality, religion, age, rape, molestation, abandonment issues. Like I'm ready. And I've had enough time to, I could be with a 90-year-old or a 30-year-old and I'm ready to go. I could be with a millionaire that thinks there's something, by the way, just going to throw it out there, but I don't have any judgment. Or I could be with somebody that's living in someone else's car. And I've done enough work to be able to connect and contribute. And I love that. And that's what I was saying, like that's how you got this call. Mm-hmm. It's like I've done so much work to figure out how to say it my way. And I think that's a fun part when there are people around you. It's not just recoil. A lot of it is recoil. Don't take it wrong. A lot of what I do is recoil, but it's done it in a different way.
What do you mean when you say recoil?
Well, have you ever heard of win-win?
Mm-hmm. That's how I heard too.
You reap what you sow. Okay. Have you ever had a person of faith, let's say a Christian, speak about the Bible, right? Or and you just don't feel it from them. So it's just scripture because they haven't figured it out for themselves. It's literally it's a throwing up of something that they read, and it can be a disattachment. The words don't match the music because I haven't played with it enough to own it myself. So I'm literally just regurgitating. Well, in John 14:14, it says, so you should really work on that. And usually when people feel disconnected from a belief system, it's because they're not actually connected to their belief system. When people get gross and there's a disconnect from a place of beliefs, it's usually because of that. I'm pretty resolute in what I believe. So I have no issues with what you believe. Mm-hmm. If I'm kind of like pinned out on, I'm not sure what I believe, then I've got these cracks. That's usually where I have discord because I don't want you to see the crack.
I really like that. And when you said that, the word that comes to my mind is like a regurgitation, where it's like it's a preaching where there's an inauthenticity to it.
Sure.
Because like you said, if the words don't match the music, then you can hear those words and you're like, do you know what that means?
Right. That part. And especially if I'm sitting, let's say, with a Christian or a devout Christian or someone that's proselytizing, is I'm waiting for them to ask me to come to Christ. Well, I can resonate with somebody a whole lot quicker if I can feel them versus the pamphlet they're fixing to hand me, because they're not versed enough to handle that conversation with me as a human being. Right?
And like back to the human connection part, right? Like authentic connection part.
Wow. And that need, that self-worth or that emotional intelligence that comes along with, I don't have a need for you to believe in what I'm believing. I'm okay with I believe that. And what are you saying to me? Because I'm hearing it with my filters, and I know what is that what you're saying? No, okay, talk to me. And then I'm open to hearing other stuff because I brought up Christianity with Hindus, right? Or Catholics or whatever, right? Protestants. I don't have any need to do that. And I think that people that get twisted out or they can see that there's a difference between Christians or Hindus and stuff. And so they make something wrong about it versus how is it the same?
Well, and like we were talking about on the phone the other day is like what I actually have said in an overview, like introduction of the purpose of the podcast is like when we peel away the noise of specific, I believe this versus this, if we peel away all that baloney, like at the core, I personally believe that we as humans believe the same thing and care about a lot of the same things, and maybe with slightly different flavors or different tones or words to it. But then we kind of come into argument over but in order to achieve that, it needs to look like this. And I think it's really relevant in religion or spirituality I think you'd mentioned and a few other people that I've spoken with is, when we read these different texts, a lot of them, they say the same thing at the core of it. The desire is very similar. It's just there's different names. There's slightly different stories. And I've found that extremely powerful as I've explored different belief systems. And what has that been for you? Because I remember you specifically bringing up
that's what
different religions.
The absolute funnest part for me is it's the universal truth. I study what's under all the different Bibles, the Quran, the Bible. I don't know, other Bibles. They're usually saying the same thing. They just say it a different way. Well, that's what I study is the universal truth of it. The truth of it. That's why I'm true of it. Truth of it is there's rules to being a great human being. And then dogma and religion happens. And what's sad for me is so much of what's like, if you take a look at the Old Testament or even the New Testament, quite frankly, there's a lot of words that don't mean what they meant. And people want to stack on top of that. Well, that's what they meant. Well, no, that's not like the eye of the needle, right? That's not what it was. It's like, okay, got it. You read the text. Now read the text. Go back and look at the words and how they were used. For me, though, I don't have to come up against somebody for the way they're doing it. What I like to do is not peel away the onion. Peel. Just let it be there. You're a Christian. Great. That is so cool. Talk to me about that, actually. Right? I don't need to peel that away. I have no need to. Because then I'm making them wrong or having a disgrace for, well, let's peel all that back. I'm not saying that's why you said it.
Right.
And I understood what you meant. And I feel like I'm making wrong. So I didn't mean to do that.
I don't feel that way.
Okay, great. So for me, it's the allowance of just being there. And like, for me, being excited. Like, let's say I really did sit down with a Hindu. I have not sat down with a lot of Hindus. And if I was open and to hear it differently and how many more things could I learn? Even for even translating for what I know. Like, I know. Win-win. Okay, well, what if they said it differently? And if I was open to that? Oh my God, that is win-win. But that is said so differently. Oh my God, I love that. Hindus rule, you rule. Let's have coffee again soon, right? But because I think I need to come up against it, I don't. Does that make sense? It's the yielding of just being in the moment of what's the opportunity? Like my best girlfriend, we're not exactly the same. And I love that about us. We have such a candor with each other and such a care and such a kind of know each other too. Right. And that's a part of like why we actually, or I'll speak for me. I utilize hers because she is different. And I like that because I'm concerned about what I'm taking in because of, say, my feed on Facebook. Her feed is different. So I'll call her. Hey, what's your feed telling you? Because I know what it's telling me, and I'm pretty sure there might be a different point of view. And she's like, wow, she hears this thing. And I'm like, that actually makes more sense. Thank you. She's like, anytime. And I love that though, right? Because I'm actually looking for it because I spent so much time being right. Because from out of self-worth and being abandoned became a big piece of righteousness. Then I'm going to do it alone. Watch. And then it was spite. And then it was revenge. I'll show you. And again, I usually operate best from fear or anger. I chose anger. Right? So.
Amazing. Fantastic. Well, I want to transition into asking you the same questions that I ask everyone.
Right. Oh my God, for you guys that are listening to these, she read these to me like 2 or 3 days ago. Or it was on the phone. We were talking on the phone. She was like, okay, I finished the show. Sorry, I'm going to steal your thunder.
Yeah, please.
I'll
just cut it out. I'm just kidding.
And so she's like, in the show with these 4 questions, like, okay, yeah, I should probably hear what these are. I have not thought about I looked on the website and I was like, nope, I'm skipping it. Because they were profound. I was like, those are really good. It's like you thought about this. Like, those are great questions. So let's go.
So authenticity at its finest then.
Sure. but other than I twisted out when you asked. Or you didn't even ask, actually. You were just giving me a chance to be prepared. But they were great questions. So yeah, go. Yeah,
well, and I think you had even said, I don't know that I want to think about them too much because I want to allow to just flow with rather than to prepare.
There is that. But the problem when I don't think things through is this is an hour-long podcast versus 4 hours. Because I usually kind of extrapolate a little too long or go down one too many different pieces or whatever. So yeah, let's go.
Yeah, so here we go.
Yes, here we go.
So the first is for anyone who can feel like a relation to anything that you've shared is how can your story build connection for people who have similar beliefs?
It won't if I don't say it. Step one is say it.
Yeah.
That's what I would say to people. You know, I'm a part of many different men's groups. I was on a men's call this morning. And I'm on the same call every Saturday. And the topic of conversation organically became our little boys inside of our bodies and how we react to things in our lives and become needy and, oh, that's the little boy, And some of us have real little boys in our life. And through the conversation, we had if I'm not willing to say it to my son, then why am I saying it to myself? So for me, that answer, for the way the question was, is be willing to say it. It's very difficult to have a connection with another human being if I'm hiding. If I'm trying to be something that I'm not. And like this phone call that happened this morning, I hang up that phone call every week and I'm not alone. I feel connected. I feel like there's other men that are struggling in finances. I think there's other men struggling in how to be a good man to their son or to themselves or to their partner. And I don't feel alone. Connection comes through intimacy and vulnerability. Hey, how are you? I'm good. How about those Broncos? Can I buy you a beer? That's most Friday nights at 5:00 on Friday. It's usually just enough money to have 3 beers to then go and watch a football game and then go and do all the honey-dos, if you will, not to put it on the ladies, to go and do the things we have to do so we can go back and slave again, to have that 5 days to sit back at the bar. And as men, how are you? I'm good. How about those Broncos? And we're going numb and we're wondering why we continue to do this. And it's through being open and vulnerable and willing to say what the truth is to people that find your tribe. I'm not saying sit down at the fucking bar. So here's the thing. I'm like really testing him up. I'm not saying that, but find your tribe. Find the people that you can talk to. And I have different people in my lives that I can talk to different ways. I'm blessed enough to know that I'm not going to talk to my friend Tanya about certain things because I know what her answers are going to be. So I don't need to talk to her. She's in my head, right? She's just like my subconscious. But I have different people in different walks of life that I can call. I have lawyers. I have gunsmiths. I have that. So find the people that you can connect to and then practice with it. Be willing to fuck it up.
Practice.
Right? Be willing to fuck up. Oh, there was a little too intimate there. That didn't land, and I don't know if they're going to call me again. So what I'm thinking is I'll do something different next time. So that piece of it, be willing to practice it, right? Be willing to say it. Mm-hmm. It's what I desperately need this on my planet because I have a 7-year-old and something different, especially with men, has got to happen now because of the way we're going. The way men are operating with each other and with women is atrocious. So it's do it and do it now. At least for you have a child too, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. Your husband doesn't count as one. So I think that would be my answer: is be willing to do it, and if you're in the want of it and not knowing how to do it, find some people, go to church, find a group, YMCA, whatever it is you got to do. Find village. Online is a big one. Mm-hmm. Let's start practicing, getting your reps. I call it getting your reps. Mm-hmm. Get your reps.
Perfect. Yeah,
because it builds. The hardest one is not doing it at all. And then it can build. It's like, oh, that felt great. Oh, I feel different. I feel more connected to that person. I feel more connected to myself because I'm not harboring something.
Yeah.
I actually said something out loud. Wow, that felt okay. I don't feel judged. As a matter of fact, the other person said, they struggle with that as a parent too. Shit, I'm not alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not the only person that's struggling. Okay, awesome. Now more connected to me.
Yeah. Well, and I think what I think about with that practice, and I invite people to like utilize the episodes of this podcast as a practice ground as well, to start to think about different types of conversations, is I've noticed in myself and in my peers is there's less of a willingness to practice conversations on certain topics. Then it's almost like not working out for years and then being like, oh, I'm going to be able to bench 500 pounds. It's like, you're going to get crushed under that. Like, you got to practice. Like the conversation, the vulnerability, the connection, that also takes practice, just like exercising any muscle.
Well, it's knowing your audience. Because if I'm trying to have a conversation that somebody's not open to it because they have a certain view, that's not the person for that conversation. Mm-hmm. It's being able to go, that's not my person for this. Mm-hmm. Because I think that's kind of what you're saying is like, they're hell bent on what they believe, so it's not worth it.
No, I think as in if I don't ever practice having conversations with people who have different political views than I don't.
Yes.
So like if I don't ever practice that and then I go to somebody who has an alternate political view and then I'm like, I'm going to change your mind.
Sure.
It's like, yeah, good luck.
Right. Okay.
As opposed to I am going to continue to practice having vulnerable conversations where, just like you said, instead of trying to peel away the onion, is be like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I want to know more about that. And being open to that and practicing, I think for me, the self-regulation of if I go to somebody who has very different beliefs from me that I'm very fired up about, and opening the door to say, I'm curious about what that means for you.
And by politics,
especially
in my fastest thinking, number one thing.
Yeah.
It was so not the way it used to be. And on every breath I take, it's changing even more. Mm-hmm. And it's super scary. So yeah, politics is, I don't really I talk to one human being on this planet about politics, and even that can get touchy with her.
Yeah.
And I need it though. So it's doing dangerous things carefully.
I love that. Doing dangerous things carefully. And that just a conversation about politics feels very dangerous right now in our current landscape. And so how can we practice getting curious about the beliefs of others so that that danger doesn't feel like a physical threat, and it can instead be, I would like to know why that matters to you.
Even just thinking about that right now, my best friend doesn't have all the same political views as I do, right? We have a lot that are the same. I think she does so well with handling me because she knows I'm curious. But not hey, I'm fucking curious, like in a not authentic way. She knows I'm calling her for a reason. And I'm not, hey man, no, I'm hearing this. And she's like, okay. And she hands it to me. So even just how you're saying that, I don't even think I said out loud or all that much is, but being curious is a good thing. Is I know I don't want to go in all tilted up, right? But hey, I'm curious. I think I'm going to have to ask her next time I see her if that's why I make it easy. It's because I'm so curious. Because I don't, she sees me tilted up because I know she gets volatile with other people that are tilted up and I'm just not one of them.
Because it's easy to mirror that. And curiosity in the sense of like authentically curious, not like, well, tell me about it then, in a spicy tone to begin with. Because I've also been that too.
Well, she didn't deliver to me that place either. Well, thank God you called me because you're a fucking idiot. I was waiting for this.
Well, finally, jeez.
So let me set you straight. It's never that with her.
Right.
It's well, maybe once or twice, but it's always been okay. We've actually we've had some touch and go spots where it's gotten touchy. But it's always given back to me. It's like, hey, I'm glad you called. Like, this is what I know. And she'll even, I sometimes not know all of it. This is what I know though. So anyways, there's that question.
Yeah. So the next question.
I think so. Now we're off of politics and I'm thinking, let's go somewhere else.
I was like, I think that went to a really great place and we'll continue since we were.
There, put a pin in that. There it goes.
Yep. Leave it on a really good note. Bam. So for still anyone who can it might be in a relatable place to somewhere that you were in a previous part of your life, is what might you say to a past version of yourself?
Sure. Say it again.
For someone who feels in a relatable place to where you were at any point, what might you say to a past version of yourself?
Get going, get started. Get going, get started. Be okay with what it is at the end of the day. No one else is in the room. Stay off the scale. You know, some people like get on the scale, like, did they lose any weight? Nope, stay off the scale. It's a liar. It doesn't tell the truth. It's a barometer, but it's lying. Because I don't know if it's fat or if it's water. So if I'm able to look at myself at the end of the day, did I eat well? Yes. Did I go to the gym? Yes. Did I do cardio? Yes. But not as much as I could. Okay, got it. It's having that honest conversation and just get going. It'll get easier. It can feel like the weight of the world. It can feel like it's not possible. And the way that I personally did it was I just started going. And I still do. And the journey isn't going to stop. It's going to just look different. Mm-hmm. Because no human being puts their foot in the same river, because the river and the human being are different. Mm. And knowing that that's okay. And on the other side of it is there's so many people that are like you and me, that if you do the work, you can reach back around and help somebody else do it. And that's super, super fulfilling to have a life of contribution. And I think sometimes just changing the point of view, because I think a lot of people, I know for me, this was the mountainside. And so much of the time, once I started getting going, it wasn't as big as I made it in some spots, most spots even maybe. But the journey was worth it. Journey is worth it. I'm still on the journey. I'm still on the journey. Right? So that's what I would say. It's possible. There isn't any. Let me say it a different way too. There's different parts of people operate from. So like some people say like, oh, I make money easy, but I don't know how to make friends. I'm really healthy, but I don't know how to make money. Right? You ever felt that or heard that or know that of yourself? So all of that is shit. What's true is I'm not willing to bring the discipline to those other areas because I like making money, or I like being healthy, or I like having friends. So we can like something all I want. When I take it, I said we and I in the same sentence. You catch that? Sure. So let's say I was great at making money and I wasn't good at making friends, or at least so I thought. So, okay, cool. So what is it that I'm doing to make money that I'm not willing to do with making friends? So I wake up at this time, I make these phone calls, and I do have these regimens in places. Cool. So you want to make some friends? Cool. So you're going to want to take that same regiment over here. It's whether or not I'm willing to do it. I can be great at everything I do, as long as I'm willing to apply the things that, and some people say that what comes easy to me, right? So it's not true. Just take what you're doing. You know what you're great at. Take those same things and apply it over here where you think you're not. Because the truth is you are. You're making a choice. I'm just saying. Okay. Next question.
Perfect.
Yeah, I feel like that was it.
That's great. For these different moments of your life, or even now, is what did or do you need most to feel connected to those around you?
Oh, jeez, fuck. Why is it every question I'm fucking crying today? What was the word? I'm going to ask you. Brooding? Mm-hmm. Maybe she was right. Well, some other time. Let's give me what's the question again? Because I guess the last one I was like, what was it again?
Is what did or do you need most to feel connected to people around you?
Nothing. That makes it about them. Mm-hmm. Like if I want something from somebody else, am I showing up? And if I'm not, then I can't expect it from them. Everyone's a byproduct to me. Now that sounds really like Cary fucking Grandish, but it's a byproduct. Have you ever taken the time to write a list of what you would want me to make? Let's say I was single. And I was, okay, what do I want to make? Well, I wanted to be intimate. I wanted to be vulnerable. I wanted to be a great cook. I wanted to be 5'2". I want this list, right? So, okay, cool. Got the list. Just walk away from it. Come back to it. And as quickly, without thinking, as quickly as you can, circle the ones that you're not currently being. So I will attract my tribe, and I do because of how I run my life and what I expect of myself. And those people are showing up in my life continuously. People that are intimate, people that are vulnerable, people that are open, people that are connected, people that are willing to hear something different, people that are willing to see me broken and fixed. They allow me the space to be broken and see me fixed even if I don't, without fixing me. They give me the space to be a human being when I'm not Cary fucking Grant. And I'm going through something human and I don't like it. And I don't expect it of myself. And it's so crippling for me. It's because I just I don't feel in control. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so for me, maybe that's something. It's like I stay away from controllers. Right? So I think that answers that question. I know that may be the strangest way to answer that question, or and like in a way it's like narcissistic way of saying it. Yeah, because I've had people throw the word narcissistic at me to where now I think I'm narcissistic and I have narcissistic qualities, and maybe I was at one point, but I'm okay with how I said that. I think I am.
Well, and what I heard in it, and correct me if I'm wrong, is
you're not.
If I want to feel connected to those around me, I need to start by embodying and emulating connection. I need to be connected in order to receive connection. So for people who maybe would answer that question by what I need from other people is for them to accept me how I am. Well, am I showing up as someone who is accepting, who is authentic? Because if you're asking for authenticity, are you embodying that? So that's what I heard.
Right. I think that's well said. Now, here's the difference in what you said, though, because what you said in my world, it's dangerous, is I want to be around people that accept me. And that wouldn't be true for me. I would like people to enjoy being around me when I'm being authentic, but I also want to have people in my life that go, hey, in private, like say it's in private, hey, when you did this the other day, my experience of you was this, that they're not willing to accept what they see in me and how they can make me grow. Not make me grow. Give me an opportunity to take a look at it. So that's not accepting me. Now, I feel like I'm trying to make it wrong again. Here we go.
No, I think this is going to be a fantastic.
I don't need that. Like, I am who I am. Now I got to find people around me that talk shit. No. I want to have people in my life that will hear me say something long enough to get intrusive enough with me to give me the feedback where I could grow, but they don't have a need for me to.
And I think for me, and this could just be a difference in how we feel about the words, is when I say I want someone to accept me for who I am, that doesn't mean being like, hey, Gabby was shitty in that moment, but I'm not going to tell her about that because I accept her and like love her. Is to be like, I accept and love Gabby. And hey, I want to let you know the way that you showed up here wasn't your best moment. And I think those can still live together in harmony, that I can be authentic and accepted by my people around me. And that also
strive for more.
Yeah. That doesn't mean that they're not going to call me out.
But don't need me to do it.
Right.
Unless it's something that's atrocious.
Right.
Hey man, you used a certain word around me. I'm not okay with that. Because so this is a boundary. So don't accept that. Right. So there are certain things, sure. And a friend of mine came and was like, you're a verbal gymnastics coach. And that was like a few months ago. I'm like, oh my God, I totally am. Oh my God. Because words are so important, right? So anyways, okay, so Zach, cover that one?
Yes.
Now remember the last one. Because the last one was like, oh, what the fuck? Go ahead.
I was going to say, do you want to ask yourself since you're like ready?
No, because I don't remember it, but I remember it being, wow, that is really Oh, no, wait, I think I got it. Okay. So what would you say to someone that listen to this podcast that disagrees with you or cannot relate to you or is trying to not make you wrong, but it doesn't resonate with them, what would you say to them? Is that it?
That's
say
the
your
flavor.
way, say it your way though.
Okay, so the only thing I would add to that is to create a bridge between different belief systems. Is the only thing I would add to that. So what I say is, I like to start by joking, like if someone's still listening and they're like, I can't relate to this at all. Sure. I think, this is bananas, what I'm listening to, is how could your story create connection for people with different beliefs?
Well, I think the way you did that is great, because it would be nearly impossible for it to not to have connected at this point. So stop lying to yourself. If you've now listened to this for this amount of time, it did connect. Now, you may have walls or you may have personas that you're trying to make right or you're trying to hold on to that doesn't want to connect with certain ways I said things. But if you're still listening, it did land. That's what the word could be. Is having that awareness of, that's actually fair. It's a little too many fucks for me. Or he was tatted or whatever, and he kept blowing his nose and crying. And I think he's a man, but I'm not sure. It was a lot of crying. And the judgment that comes through that, right, is that plasticity of staying just neutral to it. Because if you are still watching, you are. The other part of it, I think I answered this when I was on the phone. I was like, well, that's great. That's wonderful. If you don't connect with the amount of trauma that I'm talking about, wonderful. That's great. And you still have work to do, any more than I do. Because it's in the rearview mirror for a reason. It's smaller. That piece of glass is actually smaller than a windshield. It's for a reason, because what's out there is bigger. So if it doesn't resonate, that's okay. That's okay. If you listen, then you're open. And I would acknowledge that you're open.
And that there must have been an aspect of curiosity, as we were talking about, like genuine curiosity. I like how you said, if someone's still listening, then there's something that wasn't, like, this wasn't enough of a turnoff to be like, I'm skipping the rest of that.
That is the connection. So again, I go back to, I'm a human being that notices. I love what I notice. I usually say a man that notices. And I'm working with leaving man and woman out of my mouth. Yeah.
Can I ask why that is?
Sure. I started doing public speaking, and I had a mentor for a few minutes, and he would always say to me, "Hey man, hey, you just did an entire podcast, and you said men. I work with men, and you just took a lot of money out of your pocket." Now, for him, it's finances. But what I started to notice is, because I'm actually great with women, because of the kind of man that I am, I'm actually unbelievable with them. Now, I concentrate with a lot of men, and I do, and I probably always will. But through the work and the way he brought it up, it was like, we're human. I don't need to bring that to it. I just don't. I'm a human being that notices. And how that can land, or how, if I'm speaking to an audience where it's, I work with men, and how many women did I just lose? Now, I may have gained some. Wow, there's a man actually speaking where men were, or vice versa. So I'm only speaking about women, and the men are going, oh God, another guy that thinks he knows women. Okay, here we go. Versus just humans. And what's wild about it is the byproduct of that is I've been beginning to work with myself, is that I'm human and I'm making human mistakes. I'm starting to have so much more grace for myself, because I don't have a lot of grace for myself. I'm particularly hard on myself, which I'm okay with. But I'm also starting to kind of look at dude, that's a crucial way to live. I wouldn't want that for my 7-year-old. To circle back to that, if I'm not willing to say to my 7-year-old to he become so critical of himself that he becomes a machine. Well, so I'm just so I've been actually enjoying that part of it, and that the connection of that is the connection, because you didn't turn it off. Don't say you're not. That's not fair. You obviously there was something to it, and start there, and then look for other people that say it a different way, and most importantly, figure out your way. We need more people to figure out their way, or it becomes their way. And I think we have enough of that. There's these masses that move together. They don't even know that they're moving together anymore. because it's moving so quickly. People are scared to get trampled.
Mm.
And now we're starting to collide in these giant, they're so very rare individuals that are willing to be trampled or willing to go, hey, I'm in this group, and I'm going to say it differently because this group is becoming a mob. And so I would say that it's like, figure out how to do it for you and then do that. We need more of that. I need more of that on this planet. More people saying whatever it is their way. As long as it's not bullshit. Stay away from bullshit. No.
Your way, as long as it's not bullshit.
As long as it's the right way.
All the perfectionists are like, oh, geez.
There was so much of that with my EMDR is I literally shut my childhood out. No wonder I became a machine. No wonder I didn't have grace. No wonder I said, well, who gives a shit? If you want to go and fix that part of you, you don't need to know that it came from your mom or where it came from. And I preached it for 20 something years. Who cares? It's in the rear view for a minute. Let's go. If you're seeing something, you see you can have it. You see you figure it out. Go. What are we stopping for? Who cares? Maybe you'll figure it out on the way. But what I didn't realize is I was literally teaching people to bring the wagon.
And pile on more bricks and
right.
Carry something
because
heavier.
I was unwilling to take a look at what happened to me, the inhumane stuff as a child, because it was literally just, I don't want that. I kind of figured it out from this point. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, it's not, so that being the other bridge. Mm-hmm. Figure out your bridge to your inner child, my inner child, before you start creating bridges with other people, knowing who I am, the authenticity. You keep coming back to authenticity. Mm-hmm. Where am I?
Yeah. And when I had done EMDR for myself, is the therapy that I did after EMDR was we talked a lot about how thick of a wall and how many bricks did I put around the pieces of my inner child that I was too afraid to confront and heal because it was just too painful to go there. And so the analogy that we were using was like, how can I just like take one brick at a time, learn it a little bit better, heal it, let it go, take one out. And so that was very visceral for me to imagine taking just one brick at a time to heal that in myself. And in your analogy, taking one brick at a time off of the wagon, because then I found that was less and less weight I was carrying for myself over time.
And for me, it's made the journey more pleasurable, and I can actually move with a whole bunch more grace. Because when I hit the bumps called human, my trailer is less empty for things to fall out of it and hurt me more. It was just a bump. It wasn't traumatic because all these things are falling out. I've got rid of some of those. I'm actually moving better. I'm understanding myself better because there's less in there, either from the weight or from the trauma or whatever, however you want to look at what I'm saying, is I'm able to be more just who I am. Right.
Incredible. Well, thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to share before we?
I feel like we've been doing this for like 6 hours. How long has it been? Like seriously?
I don't know.
An hour?
It was about 10 minutes before you guys started the questions. It was like 10 minutes to an hour. So now it's like an hour and a half.
No way.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mental clock was way off.
Way off.
You were good about entering the questions, but then you just keep talking. And so
it was great though.
Just so you know, that's my female subconscious. Whenever I step into a podcast, I stick my little boy in my subconscious because I have a team. Right? And so it's okay.
So he just split off. The little boy is off playing somewhere, and then
locked under the baby gate.
Yeah,
right? With the dogs. Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. This is a part of purpose for me. Great. Is contribution, because I'm always contributing something. What am I contributing? Bullshit.
Yeah.
More crap, or something different. And so thank you for giving me a chance to do that.
And thank you for being such a wonderful part of it. This is, I feel, a big part of my purpose is sharing stories with the world, sharing compassion, grace, and creating a more compassionate world is really one of my big...
Gentle, kind, and courteous.
Yeah.
And giving people a soft place to land.
And demonstrating to the world that it is possible. It's really hard right now, and it doesn't have to be.
That's right. You ever seen the film 300? There's a scene in it where a king
it's been a really long time.
Kicks a soldier with such violence down this.
That iconic scene.
So when I say to give people a soft place to land, it was an analogy I came up with myself. I don't mind being intrusive in somebody's life. I don't. But what I do want to do is beat them down to the bottom and catch them or put a mattress down to give them a soft place to land. There's a song by Alanis Morissette, In Praise of the Vulnerable Man. And there's a line in it where I hope you land in the soft as you fortify. That hardening that happens as men and that softness that can happen from it.
That's beautiful.
Giving a gentle place to us, a soft place to land, gentle, kind, and courteous.
Thank you for that. Perfect little cherry on top.
Scene.
That was fantastic.
That is a wrap. What an amazing conversation. And thank you again for taking your time to listen and join us here on the Nexus of Narratives. I do hope this conversation was incredibly enriching for you and that it offered some insight, tools, and resources that you can carry to the rest of your day and other areas of your life to create enriching, connective experiences all around you. I want to offer a special thank you to my dear friend Rowan, who is my co-host in the opening and closing moments of each episode, but then also for carrying the conversations on Patreon with me. Like really tremendous episodes, and it's amazing to have another person to do that with. So thank you to Rowan. That's a huge time commitment that they share as well. And thank you to my sweet and talented husband, DJ, who works tirelessly to do the best that he can to make this audio on these episodes the best that it can be, and also for creating the music that is used in this podcast. So enjoy and have a wonderful rest of your week, and look forward to seeing you back for the next episode or just seeing you on Patreon soon.